Hello beautiful souls, I'm here with my cacao. I just have to check I haven't got any chocolate around my lips. Beautiful cacao from the Solomon Islands, and just wanting to tap in here quite specifically, quite nichely, is that the word, for some beautiful souls of Ōtautahi, Christchurch, where I grew up in Aotearoa, New Zealand from the age of 5 years. And trigger warning, earthquake. I'm going to talk a little bit about the earthquake today, and yeah, just some things coming through for me about that devastating day, well experienced, 22nd of February 2011, when we had a very poignant earthquake. 80% of the CBD was flattened to rubble. We had around 185 people die, and everyone's lives turned upside down. Of course, we had the initial earthquake in September 2010, and quadrillions of zillions of aftershocks after that. And actually February the 22nd, from memory, is like 6.1 magnitude, maybe 5 kilometers deep. I mean, if you were in Christchurch, Ōtautahi, you knew all these details, and whenever we felt an aftershock, it became a game, didn't it? It became a game of like, oh, I wonder, I'm guessing that this was this much on the Richter scale. Yeah, just reminiscing about those times 14 years ago now. Wow, 14 years ago, and just you know, realizing that healing comes in waves, and healing is done in layers, and healing is done when you are ready to heal about a particular thing. And for me personally, I felt I had to leave that land for many years, not only to heal other things within my life from childhood and divorce I was going through at the time, but actually, yeah, the earthquake. I realized now that the earthquake was very traumatic. I kind of knew, but not until really recently, kind of, I guess when you leave Christchurch and you have conversations with people who weren't there, and they reflect that back to you, like, that's a really intense traumatic situation, then you realize like, oh yeah, that was a really intense traumatic experience to have had. And if you were like me and you were in the CBD, the Central Business District, where there was rubble everywhere, facades had fallen, people squashed, people died underneath that rubble. Energetically, that is a lot. A lot of what was coming to me this morning was a lot of shock energy, a lot of shock sort of for us experiencing that. But not only that, those dear souls that passed on that day, they went and crossed over into the other realm through shock. And as well as that, what I was feeling into was like the land, that beautiful land of Ōtautahi, Christchurch, Aotearoa, New Zealand, and actually how much sadness she has been feeling since that day, and probably for longer than that. But I think, I don't know if you felt this, but perhaps you had, and perhaps for me to say this out loud, maybe you'll be realizing like, oh yeah, when the earthquake happened, I lost trust with that land. I lost trust with the land beneath my feet in Christchurch, Ōtautahi. So when I left to move to Tāmaki, Makaurau in Auckland, when I left to go to London, to all these other places, I felt safer. But just what was coming through to me last night was like, yeah, it's time to, for myself and my journey, and maybe in your journey as well, if you were there on that day and you're listening to this, maybe it is time to make peace with the land of Ōtautahi, Christchurch. And I can feel she is still healing, like the people there are still healing. But I feel like it is time to to send loving energy and healing back to that land. She's calling me. She's actually calling me. So yeah, energetically in my meditations, I will be sending love to her, especially around the CTV building site where there was 100 odd people that died that day, those coming days that were crushed amongst rubble. And I was there. That's why I feel to really send loving, healing energy to that space where there was a lot of shock. I was in a building not right next door to it, not next to Les Mills where I also worked, the gym, but the building next to that where I worked as a physio receptionist. And I remember when the earthquake happened, there was we initially thought it was just like another aftershock, right? So there was like a bit of shaking and a bit of movement, and normally when an aftershock would come, you'd just be like, okay, like wait for a bit, is this going to get like even more intense? Should I go under my desk now? Should I go under like a framed door? And I remember I was at my reception desk and I was feeling like, okay, this is more than just an aftershock. And I just remember seeing my colleague walking with a cup of tea from the kitchen, and she just couldn't stabilize herself. The tea was falling everywhere, and I was realizing like, okay, this is a big thing. And actually it only lasted, I realized, for 10 seconds, but it felt like 10 minutes or longer. And I remember in that moment there was dust kind of coming down and the roof was falling, and luckily no pillars had fallen in front of us, but we couldn't take the elevator, we had to get down the stairs. So all the officers were trying to escape, run down the stairs, and I just remember a man trying to open a door, but he couldn't because there was a concrete block that had fallen in front of the door. And from there we eventually got out and walked around to Latimer Square. So if you were in CBD that day in Ōtautahi, Christchurch, and you were in that area, you would have probably also been in Latimer Square, where it was the meeting point. And there was just confusion, there was just a lot of worried for loved ones, everyone trying to get through to loved ones, but the networks were completely blocked, you couldn't get through to everyone. And I remember seeing colleagues that I worked with from Les Mills in the area, and it was just a lot of chaos. And my husband at the time, I didn't know where he was, but later found out that he was actually at the CTV site, one of the first respondents there straight away. As he was walking past the building, saw that it had just, I don't know, was it 8 floors, just crumbled into rubble. So he was there for, in the end, many hours, till about 7 p.m. at night. And I had ended up making my way, walking to his dad's house, which was quite a while away, because there was no transport. And a lot of PTSD after that experience, post-traumatic stress, which I didn't realize until I left that city, actually. And every time I remember I'd go back to that city, I would remember feeling this sort of anxiousness, this anxious energy come over me. But it was a very life-changing experience. It definitely made me more grateful for life. Every single day is a blessing. But what I realized just very recently in the last couple of days is like, I kind of was a bit angry at the land that this earthquake had happened, because this was my life, right? This was everything that I knew had been reduced to rubble. So now, since being away, leaving that land, like straight after the earthquake happened, me and my husband at the time, we moved to Kuwait in the Middle East. My brother ended up coming along, we worked there, then we came back to the land, and I just never felt at ease with the land. So then I moved and I left and I moved to Tamaki Makaurau, I went to Auckland, and the energy of that land compared to Christchurch, Ōtautahi, was just so much more calm, peaceful, and what we would say is normal feeling. If you're one from Christchurch and Ōtautahi and you left Christchurch, I know you know the feeling that when you went to other cities within New Zealand, you're like, well, this feels normal. And then you'd come back to Christchurch and just never felt, energetically, when something big like that happens. I realise now on an energetic level that it has ripple effects into us into our bodies, into our souls, but also into the land. This is what I'm realizing. So yeah, if you were in Ōtautahi, Christchurch for the earthquake in 2011, February the 22nd at 12:51 when that hit, especially if you were in the CBD where I was, where there was a lot of death that took place, and you haven't really processed that, maybe now's the time. Maybe now is the time. As you are listening to this, you know nothing is a coincidence. Maybe now is the time. Maybe now is the time to reconcile with the earth, with Mother Earth of that land, and say it's okay. You know, I trust you and I still love you. I still love you, beautiful Ōtautahi, I love you. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling a calling to come back to that land, sit with that land, especially around that CTV site, and just send love to the souls that were lost in that shock energy, but also love to the land. But until I get there, I will be sending love to beautiful Ōtautahi, beautiful Christchurch, that CTV sites, while I'm here in Birmingham in the UK through my meditations. And yeah, when I get home, I will be holding some healing spaces on that land. So eventually when that happens, we're looking at January 2026, inshallah. And if it feels right and it feels aligned, you can come and join me. But yeah, just wanted to speak into that life-changing event. I would kind of touch on it here and there along my journey, but really realizing as I've been connecting more with the lands around me, as I've been going to Ireland, the lands of my ancestors, Scotland, the land of my ancestors, really realizing like, oh wow, I was kind of very disconnected from Ōtautahi Christchurch since that earthquake. So yeah, it's time to send love back to that beautiful land, Papatūānuku, Mother Earth of Ōtautahi and Christchurch. And I've just seen 1212. I've been seeing that all day today, which equals 33. So yeah, sending you all lots of love, lots of positive energy. If you've ever yourself gone through a big natural disaster like an earthquake or a tsunami or a volcano or something where civil defense has come in and there's been a lot of energy of fear, a lot of chaos, a lot of unknowingness, where Mother Earth has really shown her power. Ooh, I feel you. I feel you, I'm with you, and what an absolute gift to be here experiencing this life if you were able to live through that experience. And also remembering that nothing is coincidence. Everything is as it's meant to be. You were meant to be where you were at that particular time for your particular journey in your soul contract in this lifetime. So sending you all lots of love, especially Ōtautahi Christchurch, especially those that were there for the earthquake on the 22nd of February 2011. We remember, but also we rise and we heal. It's time for healing. Love you all. Have a beautiful day.